I add on for 300, and I switch seats before picking up ace-king offsuit under the gun +1 in a straddle pot. It seems that people have caught wind that there are 2 YouTube whales playing 5-10 at Bellagio because the table fills up. I raise to 50, the player on my left 3-bets to 150. This is the same opponent who beat me in the previous hand. His range should be extremely narrow. I'm not going to 4-bet. I call for 100 more. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes ace-8-4 rainbow. We've got top and a straddled 3-bet pot. I check to the pre-flop aggressor. He bets 200. If he happens to have pocket aces here, I'm just going to have to double him up since he only has 900 behind. I call to set the trap in case he's bluffing. Pretty frequently, he'll have the same hand as me. The turn is the 10 of clubs. I check once more. The opponent isn't done firing. He bets 300. He only has 600 left in the stack, and the pot's already much bigger than that. It's time for me to pull the trigger. I announce that I'm all in. I thought I was going to get snap called and we were going to chop. Instead, the opponent snap folds. It appears that the player didn't have an ace at all, but I'm not sure what he could have been bluffing with after 3-betting me from early position and firing on 2 streets. I'm glad that I just called the flop bet because it allowed me to pick up an extra 300 on the turn. I've dipped slightly below the even mark when I pick up pocket 3s under the gun +1 in another straddle pot. Actually, from here on out, every hand is 5-10-20. It's a big game. I raise to 50. The small blind is the only caller. We're heads up in position. The flop comes 10-9-3 with 2 spades. We've got bottom set. The opponent checks. There's a fairly coordinated board, so I could bet 50% or more of the pot. I really want to make sure I get at least some value though, and I bet $50 again in order to ensure that I can get called by an even wider range of hands. I don't like this decision as much with bottom set. It'd be better to use that sizing with top set since it's a lot less likely in that scenario that my opponent would have top pair. Small blind calls 50. Maybe I can get him to put a lot more money in on future streets. The turn is the deuce of diamonds. I love to see that. We still have the 3rd best possible hand. The small blind checks. I want to target top pair hands, and believe it or not, the small blind could have reasonably flatted my pre-flop raise with a hand as good as pocket queen, so there's some small possibility that I'm up against an overpair. I increase my sizing to 180. This should look a bit like a bluff. I would have taken a similar line with a hand like ace-5 of diamonds or potentially even a front door flush draw. The larger bet doesn't deter the small blind from sticking around. He calls. I've got 14-35 behind, and the opponent has me slightly covered. You may be thinking, stacks are pretty large compared to how big the pot is. It's weird to bring attention to that detail, but my mind is focused on getting every chip that I can get. The river is the 5 of clubs. It's one of the best cards that the dealer could have put out there. Both flush draws miss. All of the most obvious straight draws like queen jack and 8-7 miss, and no overcards came out. If our opponent has a hand like ace-10, this is set up perfectly for us to get maximum value. The small blind checks. I'm thinking about how this hand has played out so far and how much I want to bet. If my opponent has a missed draw, he won't be able to call a bet of any amount, and he's called 2 bets so far, indicating that if he does have a hand with showdown value, it's likely pretty solid, and he'd probably be willing to call a big bet here. I bet the biggest amount that I can. That's right. We're all in for about 2.5 times the size of the pot. I'm hoping this will look like a last-ditch effort of mine to steal what's in the middle with a hand like queen jack of clubs or diamonds. A lot of the time when I've made plays like this in the past, it actually has been with complete air. You might be thinking it's stupid to do this for value since it's so unlikely that I'll be able to get called by something worse, and I'm just squandering a great opportunity to at least make some money, perhaps up to even 400 or 500. I mostly agree with that assessment, but occasionally I need to mix it up. When I don't have any cards blocking top pair or second pair, this seems like an okay spot to swing for the fences, particularly when there were plenty of draws that have missed. This play doesn't need to work out that often in order for it to make me a lot of money. The opponent is in agony. He certainly doesn't have me beat, and almost definitely only has 1 pair at best. After tanking for 50 seconds, the small blind comes to a decision.
Okay, Cole.
This is one of the few times we massively overbet for value and actually get called. We smash one into the bleachers to win a $3,500 pot. Not only do we get paid the maximum, but this helps balance my range for when I actually am bluffing for large amounts. I'm ecstatic to get called here. The session's going great. We're up around 1700 with plenty of poker left to be played. We've got ace-queen offsuit on the button. A player middle position limps in for 20. The hijack calls as well. I raise to 100. Both limpers call for 80 more. We're going 3 ways to the flop in position. It comes 5-5-4 with 2 clubs. We all check. The turn is the queen of hearts, giving us top pair. The opponent's check. I likely have the best hand. I make it 130. It's a smaller bet. I'm hoping that I can keep a wide variety of worse hands in. The middle position player calls. The hijack folds. It's heads up. The river is the 10 of diamonds. The opponent checks. I'm a little concerned that I could be up against queen 10. I'm not checking back though. I bet 400 to get calls out of king queen, queen jack, maybe a flush draw to hit the 10 on the river, or perhaps the opponent can make a call with something even worse if he just doesn't believe me. We're not getting called. After a minute of thinking it over, the middle position player raises to 1,000. This is a super annoying spot to be in. It's hard to put him on trip 5 since he checked twice and only called my small bet on the turn with 2 opponents and a flush draw out there. Maybe he has quads, a flopped full house, queen 10, or 10's full somehow. It's my turn to go into the tank. Ace queen is pretty much the best hand that I'd play this way, and it's only 600 more. I'm likely crushed, but I can't help myself. After 2 minutes of deliberation, I called because I wouldn't be able to forgive myself if I got bluffed for a relatively small amount, and it's definitely more fun for the vlog if we're able to find out what the opponent has. It turns out he has 5-3 of spades for the winner. I'm not sure limp calling 5-3 suited preflop is a great strategy in the long run. In this instance, he gets the right monkey to pay him off though. He owns my soul and makes the maximum after playing extremely patiently, getting a good run out given what him and I both had. I'm not very happy with myself for playing undisciplined. So bad. Later we've got ace-king offsuit on the button. The hijack raises to 50. This is the same opponent who I beat with my set of 3s earlier and who just won with 9-6. I put in a 3-bet to 150. Thomas is the under-the-gun straddler. He cold calls the 3-bet despite not having a very large stack. He only has 500 remaining. The hijack also calls. We're going 3 ways to the flop in position. The dealer puts out king 7 deuce with 2 diamonds. It checks to me. We've got top and are finally in position to get Thomas back for regularly drunk stumbling into our apartment late at night and waking up everybody. If I had the ace of diamonds, I'd consider checking back. Since I don't, I bet 240 for value. I want to win as much money as possible, but I'm also glad to see my friend fold in order to preserve his chips. The hijack also folds. I let both guys know that they made the right laydowns since I've got a monster. This evokes a huge ovation from Andrew.
Good folds, good folds.
Thank you.
Good flop.
Thomas would later tell me that he had pocket eights. I prefer to see him fold or jam with that hand pre-flop. In this one, we pick up ace-jack of diamonds in the small blind. Josh Rimatillo has been playing with us for a few hours. He's a longtime supporter of poker vlogs, and he just got 4th in the main event for $2.3 million. Huge congratulations to him. We've gotten into a few hands in previous vlogs together, but tonight, we haven't tangled too much until possibly right now. Josh raises to 50 from the button. With ace-jack suited, I'll mix in 3-betting and occasionally calling. Here I call. Thomas calls in the big blind. The player who I beat with pocket aces 3-bet jams for 300. The button folds. I somewhat under-repped my hand initially, so I don't want to fold when I might even have the best hand. I call for 250 more. The big blind folds. There's no more action. We're heads up in an all-in pot. The flop comes queen 8 deuce rainbow. Doesn't help me at all. The turn is another queen. Not great. The river is the 5 of hearts. We don't connect with the board. The opposite is true for the under-the-gun straddler. He has 4 of a kind.
Yeah, quads is good.
After being up big early on, my stack is trending in the wrong direction. I'm still winning a solid amount, but I know if I lost another significant hand, I'd start getting a little frustrated, which could cause me to play worse. It's best to rack up now.